They've conducted regular long-range drone strikes deep into Russian territory. Switching to another part of the world, earlier this year, Iran struck 5 KC-135 and 1 E-3 on the ground at Prince Sultan Air Force Base in Saudi Arabia in drone and missile attacks. Iran has also struck U.S. targets in Qatar and in Bahrain. So why has U.S. military been so slow to adapt to the changing nature of warfare? What is the Air Force doing to harden facilities and defend against drones at home and abroad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with you. It's
1 minute longer. Also, I think everyone on the subcommittee agrees with Secretary Driscoll's assessment that Ukraine is the, quote, Silicon Valley of warfare, end quote. Have you instructed any senior Air Force leaders to visit Ukraine to identify lessons and technologies for the Air Force to apply?
I have not instructed anybody to visit Ukraine, but the teams are either visiting Ukraine or visiting manufacturers that are supporting Ukraine, or I'm actually going to EUCOM in a week or so to again get more information on what's going on over there as well. So I think we're well versed in what Ukrainians are doing and what the Russians are doing and the threats. And I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that this is one of the more significant threats, particularly in the CONUS, right, where we have to date treated those as sanctuary locations and have not done a lot to defend against them. But that's changing quickly. We are in the process of prioritizing the bases and starting to field equipment. I think on the order of 14 bases we're focused on in the near term, all the way from the command and control and the monitoring systems to do sensing around the base, as well as various kinetic, non-kinetic, and directed energy type weapons that we're working closely with Task Force 401, which is requesting a significant increase in funding going forward to procure the various types of weapon systems going forward.
Shifting to a different topic, executing Operation Epic Fury required both the advanced buildup of combat power in theater and sustainment flights and long-range strike missions. I understand you couldn't have done this without the cooperation with Europe and Gulf allies on access, basing, and overflight. How would operational planning have been affected if you couldn't rely on the reach and force multipliers provided by our friends in Europe and the Gulf? There's been some suggestion that our European allies aren't helping us in the area. I think that doesn't stand up against the facts. How much does the Air Force's ability to strike adversaries worldwide lean on access, basing, and overflight from allies and partners? Would the Air Force be better off with less access to NATO countries?
Absolutely not. We can and do have the ability to strike without forward locations pretty much anywhere on the planet, but it is greatly facilitated by access to our allies and partners. I guess turn it over to General Wilsbach for additional comments.
It would certainly significantly limit our options. As the Secretary said, we do have the capability from CONUS or other territories that we have locations that are owned by the U.S. to strike from those locations. But if we don't have access, basing, and overflight into partner and allied countries, it greatly limits our ability to force project, resupply, strike, et cetera.
Senator Coons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have three areas of questions I want to get through quickly, if I can. Low-cost cruise munitions, air-based drone defense, and CCA. I'll just follow up on the point the chairman raised about base defense. As we've discussed, Mr. Secretary, the tragedy at Tower 22 showed me, at least, and I think many of us, the cost of neglecting critical investments in drone defense. You referenced the partnership with the Joint Interagency Task Force 401. Are you confident each side knows their lanes in the road in this work? And how is your work complementing the DoD-wide initiative?
I think we do understand, but it's a rapidly evolving playing field. Just how we're going to structure our base defense from an organizational perspective, we're working through quickly, and I can have General Wilsbach touch on that. But it's a rapidly changing field, but I think we have good relationships with them. I think we are laying out our priorities closely with them on what bases we're going to field well, so I think that relationship is going well. And so I think with the funding that's in the request, I think we should be able to field a lot of that equipment fairly quickly.
I recognize that you have a very difficult prioritization exercise between forward operating bases, fixed overseas installations, our homeland. And as you answer, if you could just say, is there any authorities, resources, and support from Congress you need to get after this problem, and where are you most concerned we're not doing enough?
Thank you for the support that you gave us in past years on the authorities, and I think the authorities are in a good spot right now. Overseas, we have no limitations, especially where there's active combat happening. There's no authorities limitations there. In fact, the rules of engagement there are exactly where our warfighters would like them to be. In the CONUS, we now have the authorities that we need to defend our bases, and so at the current time, I don't suggest we change those authorities. With respect to the question you ask of do people know where their lanes are, absolutely yes. We actually sit in on the JTF 401 meetings, and we take that back to the air staff, and then can propagate the Air Force part of JTF 401 for our own means. The entire Department of War has about $10 billion in this 27 budget request for a counter drone, counter UAS technology, and that'll be really important for us to bolster. This year in the CONUS, we're going to stand up capabilities at 26 of our key installations for the Air Force. Previously, that was 10, so we're going